Welcome to the Friday Happy Hour with victory strategist, award-winning author, and your happy hour host, Annmarie Kelly. Each week, Annmarie chats with women who have reinvented, started over, or wrote fabulous next chapters. They share how they overcame their midlife challenges and how you can too. So kick back with some good happy hour something to drink and enjoy today's show.
All of my friends tell me that I'm the good girl, yes they do. They all see me as being so perfect, little Miss Goody Two Shoes. 'Cause I do something a little risque, they all gasp and I just say, good.
Hi and welcome. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour with me, Annmarie Kelly, and you know me. I'm that recovering good girl and your victorious woman empowerment partner. And this is where us victory chicks and you guys who love us meet on Fridays to chat about things we can do to make our lives better, more fulfilling, and, give us a little more jazz and sparkle. So I'm glad you came to Happy Hour today. We're in the season with a lot of events, weddings, graduations, business end-of-year parties, that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering if you are still wondering if the water glass that's yours is on your right or your left. More importantly, what's in and what's out as far as manners go? It's not like when we were kids. Well, today's guest is Jacquelyn Youst, a modern manners expert, and not really the old-style Emily Post stuff. I think you'll like her and her information. So, did you watch that Sixers game? Were you surprised? A lot of people weren't. But the game was a nail-biter to the end. It was so good. And I'm sorry that they lost, but they gave their fans such a good season. And, the thing is that the Sixers had way too many fouls, and their strategy sort of fell apart. But you know what? They're young, and they gave us one of the best seasons in years, right? So we can hope what we did this year is a harbinger of what's to come. And we'll see. But now we're on to my Phillies. And, baseball's my game. And I'm really hopeful that they're going to give this city its third win this year. Seriously. Right now, the Phillies are in second place in the National League East. And, most of you remember Tug McGraw. You gotta believe. So I'm looking forward to another great sports season with our Phils. So other than the Sixers, and the Phils played a couple of good games, what was your week like? The political stuff right now is so crazy that it almost doesn't make sense to talk about it. The other night I was with my friend Helen, and she was saying that what so many of us are feeling, we're really, really tired of the divisiveness. And it's never ending. The people who hate Donald Trump think they're so sophisticated and so saintly that they're the resistance. But us average victory chicks and our guys, even the ones who held their noses and voted for Trump, and the ones who wouldn't have voted for Trump in a million years, we're all tired of the constant bickering and the leaking and all the stuff. It's like living in a house where mom and dad are fighting at dinner every night. It's making our already stressed lives feel even more stressed. This stuff seems like it's a good excuse for our Congress people to be congressional slugs. I say they should remember they work for us, stop the crap, and do some work. Aside from that stuff, I was really busy this week. Last night I was in Philly at the Pyramid Club. And when I go into Philly, I usually take the train. But I can never decide if it's worth it. I usually go to Paoli, which is a half-hour drive, and they're tearing up the parking lot. So you have to make a little extra time so you can get a parking space. So that's about 45 minutes altogether, and then it's an hour to get to Suburban Station where I get off. I'd go to the closer Whitford station, but the return train, some of you know this, doesn't always stop there on the way home from Philly. So I hear talk that they're going to bring back a train to Westchester. In fact, I posted a link to the final report of the feasibility study on today's radio wrap-up. The study says it's not only feasible, but a good use of public funds to bring a train to Westchester. Excuse me, I think it's a good use of our funds because that drive to Paoli is a half hour, and if I can get something closer, that would be way better. However, I don't know if me or any one of us who's over 25 is going to live long enough to see it happen. So anyway, I was in Philly last night for the annual Women's Authors Panel that my girlfriend, Teresa Hummel-Kralinger, has been doing for almost as long as I've been doing this radio show. And I love going to that one. I go periodically to depending upon who she has. And I love finding new authors who I find interesting and then bring them to you. However, I knew almost every author on the 8-woman panel, and many of them have already been here. But there were 2 women, both talking about business, who I'm thinking about bringing to you probably in the fall. But, it's always a good experience at the Pyramid Club because even if I don't like what's going on there, the view of Philly from the 52nd floor is awesome in the literal sense of that word. And excuse me, and the sunset, and I was there for sunset last night, it is breathtaking. And on Tuesday, I was at the Women's Business Connection in Downingtown. My friend and dance teacher, Valerie, and you probably know Valerie, it's Valerie's Dance over there on Westtown Road. She let me know that Pat Cherokee was speaking at her Women's Business Connection luncheon meeting. And that group is really a good one for women in business. It's a networking group and a strong one. And I don't go all the time because I belong to another luncheon group, but I wanted to hear Pat Cherokee. Well, I met Pat when she spoke for me at the Girlfriends at the Girlfriend Gala in 2016. And she was so much fun. And when we went out for lunch afterwards, we became fast friends. We had a ton of common connections. So many of the things that we just could, how did we never meet before? Well, we've been trying to schedule lunch, but we're both so busy. So on Tuesday, I at least got to hear her speak and then spent a little time with some chit-chat afterwards. So Pat's really good. If you've ever heard her speak, she really has a special knack. But she said something that I really believe. And that she was talking about balance. And she said, if you watch the news, particularly cable news, don't just watch one channel. And that's so striking to me because I think I told you last year I talked about Jen Frederick on Fox 29's Good Day Philadelphia. And she said, and this woman said she was speaking at the Girlfriend Gala. And the woman said, oh, I don't do anything Fox. And when I told her it wasn't the Fox News on cable, it didn't matter. She repeated that she didn't do anything with Fox, like Fox was the devil. But you know our local Fox channel. It's Good Day Philadelphia, Wendy Williams, Dr. Oz, Judge Judy. It's not even a conservative station. It made that woman look very close-minded. And you Victory Chicks and our guys, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be that way. Well, anyway, if you love CNN's New Day, their morning show, flip over to Fox and Friends or Morning Joe from time to time. And if you like the nighttime lineup with Aaron Burnett and Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon, flip over and listen to Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham or Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Each of those show hosts have a point of view. And, of course, CNN leans left, MSNBC is left, and Fox is right. When you listen to each of them, you have a better shot at formulating your own opinion. And we take the same facts and interpret them differently. It's like how you and your sibling grew up in the same family, but this probably happened to you. It's happened to me. Your sibling tells you the story of some family event growing up, and maybe talks about how awesome good it was, and you're sitting listening and thinking, "It was an awful time. What are you talking about?" So we all see things, we have that, like that. And so do the cable news folks do it. That's what they're paid to do. It's up to you to sift through the rhetoric so you can be an informed voter who votes your values, not just your party line. And speaking of Fox 29 and Jen Frederick and the Girlfriend Gala, if you want to join me on June 6th at Penn Oaks, and you want to get the best price, register now. It goes up May 22nd. And we have so many fabulous donations. The Prosperity Sisters at Full Spirited Flavors are doing our desserts. And the Brandywine River Museum has donated tickets. Lucky Strike in Philly has donated a bowling party. Jazz Ford Winery. And I mentioned Valerie from Valerie's Dance donated a dance lesson. She's good. Like, we can even dance, Joseph and I. And the Painted Plate is here in town is donating a painting party. Tech Restaurant gave us a gift card. They have been so generous, and so the girlfriends can get good stuff for their raffle tickets. So get your tickets while they're still discounted. And I posted a link for that on today's radio wrap-up at victoriouswoman.com. And say, Jacquelyn Youst is here. She's the modern manners expert with a school and everything. She's going to tell us if we're mannering in a way outdated. Yes, I said mannering. It's actually a word. So listen, go get some good happy hour, something to drink, and get ready for some mannering. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour. Remember when you wished you had more time for yourself? And now you have it, but you notice you're keeping busy with stuff, but that stuff isn't making you feel happy or filled up? And when you think about what would make you happy and filled up, you get stuck or feel overwhelmed. And then you go back to what's more familiar, more comfortable, even if it's not making you happy. Wouldn't you love to find a way to start making sense of that deep discontent you're feeling? Well, you're not alone. I'm Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. And I know there's a place for you, one that other women have found to be both inspirational and empowering. And it's the Victorious Woman Project. Go there now and get on my mailing list, where you'll be the first to know about my upcoming online workshops, teleseminars, and more. And while you're there, take a couple minutes to look over my blog. You can download some of the free stuff I have for you and let it get your creative juices going. I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Victorious Woman Project. And that's at www.victoriouswoman.com. Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and I'm here with getting polite with our guest today, etiquette expert Jacquelyn Youst. How are you doing, Jacquelyn?
Oh, I'm fabulous. How are you, Annmarie?
Oh, really good. It's Friday. How could we be anything but?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, Jacquelyn, you're fairly young, and I'm wondering, how did you get into doing this manners thing? Like don't we, like, sometimes we think of people who talk about manners and etiquette as being like 107 years old. And I know you're not,
so. Well, actually, I've always been a people watcher. And I noticed early on in my teenage years, way back, that some people had a presence about them. They appeared more comfortable in their own skin and more confident. I assumed they just had a more outgoing personality. But it wasn't until later in life that I learned their secret. They were taught etiquette and people skills. And they understood the importance of body language and how to make other people feel comfortable. So long story short, I studied etiquette and protocol, and I started my business to help empower individuals so no one would have to face the world feeling unsure and awkward.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Jacquelyn, because my spouse went to a boarding school, and nobody went there for a good reason. It wasn't a reform school, but it was where people who couldn't take care of their kids, and where, you know, if the kids were taken away from the parents, or they, in Joseph's case, his mother signed over her parental rights. And so everybody went there not for a good reason. And when we go back for a reunion, which we're going to next month, people talk about it, and they talk about how it was hard. But the biggest thing that they talk about is that they weren't given any kind of social skills to take them in the world. So when they graduated, you know, that was the end of Scotland School for them, and they weren't fully prepared to go out and do what they needed to do in the world. A lot of it because they didn't have those social skills. I agree with you. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Feeling unsure and awkward is not where you need to be. And there are tools that will allow you to get past that.
So, for me, and I didn't grow up in the same kind of environment that Joseph did, but I went to a private school, and we weren't private school people in my family. So I used to get really bunched up about etiquette, mostly because I didn't want to show a lack of social skills. Like, at that time, I saw etiquette as something people would judge me by. But once I discovered the whole purpose for the etiquette rules, it totally flipped a switch in my head. Would you explain to listeners why we even have rules for etiquette?
Wow. Well, we live in a world governed by rules. We have rules of the road, rules for commerce. Etiquette is rules and guidelines for how we should behave and treat other people. Imagine the chaos if we would push ahead of others standing in line. Etiquette not only helps you know how to approach various situations, but how to treat others, whether they're friends, coworkers, or strangers.
Yeah, and to me, it's about making other people comfortable.
Yes.
It's
being comfortable and other people comfortable around you.
Yes, yes. And one of the things I'm thinking about is, so many of for those of us who are in midlife, things are so different now than when we were kids. When we were kids, it seemed like so many of the rules were tried and true and really old, and now so many of those old rules are going away and constructs falling down. And so I want to be talking about that, but first I want to ask you why you thought it was so important with all of that happening, why did you think it was so important to create a business around it?
Oh, I saw a need. The advancement of technology created a world that is losing the ability to connect and communicate. There is a need to teach and reteach those people skills in business and socially.
I know that. Is that what you're talking about when I was on your website and I was reading about some stuff, and you talk about something called Etiquette Confidence.
Exactly. Well, confidence is a faith or belief that one will act in a proper way. And confidence comes from knowing that what you say and do are within acceptable codes of conduct and behavior. So they're tied together.
And I guess it doesn't mean that you always have to be, all of us have different sets of etiquette when we're home than when we're out. But it's good that when we're in, with other people, that we know that kind of stuff, that we know, which way to pass the plate and, where the water is. And that, that's so basic, but it's really just scratching the surface. But there's other things that are, and even like you said, rules of the road. Do individuals, I guess, I was wondering, do people come to see you? Do they come to classes? Like, how do you interact with people to help them get better at etiquette?
Well, typically they'll come to me. College graduates, incoming new hires, and parents for their children. They'll contact me. Now, a couple of times a year I will hold classes. However, most of my clients come to me for interviewing skills, presentation skills, networking help. So, yeah, it's a lot of business etiquette. That's where there's a big gap.
How is a lot of that, say from like the 1940s and 60s and 70s, how has that changed? And when did it start to change, or does it always change? It seems to me that when I was growing up, things had been the same way for like 50 years, and then and they're not now. So when did that all start to change?
Well, being gracious has never changed. However, technology has completely changed the rules of etiquette. There have been some studies done that Americans think that manners have deteriorated in the United States over the past several decades. Experts will blame technology for that trend. We're losing the ability to communicate, primarily because of the technology. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on their smartphones and on the computer, and they don't know how to communicate person to person. And there's a commercial that talks about is it text-free zones or something like that? Like put the phone down at dinner, and actually have a conversation like that. Exactly. It's about contributing to the conversation and instead of having your face buried in your cell phone, which everybody likes to do because everybody has to know what everybody else is doing sometimes, and the people that are right in front of you deserve your attention.
I was thinking about that. It was just the other day something happened, and it made me think. When this happens, some days some people are going to be really sad that they were busy on their phones instead of spending time with those people, and those people are like your parents, and those people are going to die. And you're going to regret not having those moments with them. That's what I think.
Yeah, we're losing that.
Jacquelyn, I'd like to do our conversation a little bit in sections. Like, let's start with table manners. What's important about those? Are there still standards about when you have dinner with people?
Of course. You don't want to chew with your mouth open, obviously. But leaving the table, when you stand up to leave the table, you only need to say, excuse me. You don't have to say, I'm going to the bathroom. Excuse me is plenty. Leaving your napkin on the chair when you leave the table, instead of throwing your dirty napkin back on the table. Nobody wants to see that. It's just about common courtesy.
And you and I had shared. I shared this with you already. That one of the best things I ever learned was the BMW.
Right, the bread, the meal, and the water. When you're standing in front of the place setting, so you know which water glass is yours, you could just real quick look at the table and remember BMW. The bread is on the left, the meal is in front, and your water glass will be over to the right.
I know.
That's a good way, because you're going to navigate the table setting like a map.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. I know. I have to tell you, it was like the best piece of it when somebody said that to me, and it was a long time ago. I was like, now I know where the water, because so many times where it's at a wedding or a business thing, and somebody's saying, is this your water, or is it BMW?
If it's clever, isn't it? That's how I was taught too, actually.
Yeah. And so, are there things that used to be standards at the dinner table, or not specifically your home dinner table, but say when you're out to business, that we don't need to do anymore?
Oh boy. No, the rules of dining etiquette are pretty much in place. And especially keep your cell phone off when you're out to dinner and off the table.
Oh, yeah, because they're filthy. Cell phones are filthy.
Well, yeah, and chances are it's going to beep or go off or something, and it's going to take your attention away.
Huh. And when you pass food, would you pass it to the left or the right?
Counterclockwise. Always counterclockwise. Except when the bread basket is on the table and say it's right in front of you. That's the only time the rules are different. You're going to pick up the bread basket. You'll help yourself to the bread basket first. You'll put on your bread plate. You'll offer it to the person on the left. And then you'll pass it counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
Oh, so with the bread, yeah.
So if you pass it to the person on your left, and then you offer it to them?
Well, you're going to hold it for them, and they'll take their bread out, and then you'll take it and continue to pass it counterclockwise.
Is that that's to the right? Yeah, so that would be to the right, yeah. Jacquelyn, we need to take a break, so if you could all hold on, and we're talking more etiquette and more business things as soon as we come back. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Hi, this is Annmarie Kelly, author, victory strategist, and the radio show host of the Friday Happy Hour. I trust you're enjoying my conversation with this fabulous, victorious woman. If you're getting inspired with ideas and feeling empowered, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's more for you. Tips, downloads, resources at the Victorious Woman Project. Go to victoriouswoman.com and look around and get on my mailing list so you can be the first to know about the newest good things I have for you. That's www.victoriouswoman.com.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour. I'm Annmarie Kelly, and I'm here with our etiquette expert guest, Jacquelyn Youst. Jacquelyn, when we're at that time of year where there's like so many things going on. There's weddings and graduations and business lunches and networking events. But before we talk about those, I'm curious about one thing. When you're invited to somebody's house for dinner, are there rules that you need to follow differently than when you're out? And a question I have is, do you bring a hostess gift?
Okay, so I like to tell people, never go to someone's house without one arm shorter than the other, meaning always be sure to bring something.
Oh, that's clever.
So you could either bring a gift card to a local restaurant that they frequent, or a gift basket with baked goods from either your hometown, or flowers for the table are good. But you always want to bring a gift when you're going to somebody's house for dinner.
Now, very often we bring a bottle of wine. Should you bring something in addition to the wine, or is the wine a gift?
The wine is a gift, and the rule for that is because it is a gift, they don't necessarily have to open it at the dinner party. If they want to share it, that's fine, but because it's a gift, they can save it for a later day. So don't be offended if they don't crack open your bottle of wine.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times when people bring wine when I'm having company for dinner, I don't open it because I might be having something that's not, like they're bringing red and I want to serve white, so like that.
And that's another point, exactly. Mm-hmm. Unless they call ahead and ask if they could bring something that would complement the meal. You were exactly right.
Now, I like that idea about the baked goods, and the first time I saw it happen was last night, that somebody at an event that I was at, and she was one of the vendors, and she created a basket as a raffle. There was a beneficiary to the event, and it was just clever. It was, like a little bag of cookies, there are 8 or 9 individual things, like a scone, and each thing was wrapped up, and then she put them in the basket, and then put a bow in the basket. I thought it was so clever, and that's what you're talking about, right?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's personal, it's thoughtful. That's exactly what you want to do.
Very clever. I had never seen it before. I wouldn't have thought about bringing it as hostess gift, but I will now. So,
there you go.
But what if it's like not a full dinner, but a small party or an open house? Do you still do the same thing?
Yeah, I would do the same thing because you're a guest in their home. Again, don't go to someone's house without one arm shorter than the other. It's better that way. That way you don't feel awkward if you feel like you should have brought something. But yeah, even something small.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about when the night's over and you're having a nice time, you say thank you and then you go home. Do you write a note and mail it, or in this world of social media, do you send an email or send them a text, or do you post it on Facebook? What's the proper thing?
Well, it depends on your relationship with that person, if you're going to shoot them a text. But if you do that, it's best to always follow up with a handwritten thank you note, regardless.
Oh, so like thank them twice.
Yeah, a thank you card. And I don't think posting it on Facebook would be really appropriate, because what if somebody wasn't invited? They'll be like, hey, they invited so-and-so and I wasn't invited.
That's true.
So,
but what about, but you could private message them on Facebook. Is that okay?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. But I would still follow up with a handwritten note. Everybody likes to get mail, and it shows you took an extra step. Mm-hmm. So I would write a handwritten note.
So you would. So this is a conundrum that I've experienced. So I will write that handwritten note, and of course, if it's Saturday night dinner and it doesn't go out until Monday's mail, they don't get it till Wednesday or Thursday. And I feel in this time of immediacy that's too long to wait. It didn't used to be too long, but. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that idea of sending a text or an email and following it up with a note is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. That way they instantly get your thank you, but still follow up. Yeah, because they might think too much time has gone by and you took too long. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It didn't used to be that way. If within the next week or two you got a thank you note, then that was good, but not anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No, both are appropriate.
Okay. And now I mentioned weddings, and, we're in that season, and I have a question. What's the going rate for money gifts these days?
Oh, boy. Okay, so let's say you're a casual friend or a coworker.
Mm-hmm.
I would go $50 to $75. However, if you're a close friends or a family member, I would go $75 to $100. That would be a good starting point or a good gauge.
As a wedding gift?
As a wedding gift.
And what about for graduations?
Graduations, $20 to $50 is appropriate. However, it's a myth. If you receive a graduation announcement in the mail that you must send a gift, that's not true. So whether or not you decide if you're going to send a present to the graduate, a congratulations card is always appreciated. But that would be $20 to $50 would be appropriate.
Okay. And does it matter if it's high school or college? Does that make a difference?
No, I don't think so. I think that's still an appropriate amount.
And again, what about the thank you? Do you email, text, social media? And am I old-fashioned to actually expect a thank you note if I give that kind of a gift?
No, you should expect a thank you card in return.
Okay, so
if you send a gift, the recipient should be sending you a thank you card.
So now if they're not, like, but I have to tell you, because it happens quite a bit, and it's happened for weddings, where you either don't get a thank you at all, or somebody sends you just a card that's already pre-printed that says thank you for the gift.
No, they should put a personalized note on the inside,
mm-hmm.
Acknowledging and mentioning the actual gift. Thank you for the toaster.
Right.
But, yeah. Weddings have a little bit longer grace period of sending out the thank you card. It's better to send one late if you forget or you don't get around to it than not at all.
I know it used to be a whole year.
Yeah.
But now, and that's because everything moved slower.
Well, yeah, it's still kind of a year, but the sooner the better, because after a year goes by, I think that's a little long.
Now, you know what, Jackie, when I first talked to you, I was telling you that I had just seen I had been watching The View, and I had watched the host have a conversation about how busy they are. I think it was about new mothers, and how much they appreciated when somebody sent them a gift and said, don't bother sending a thank you note. And I was ticked. I watched it and I thought, yes, if somebody had, I understand that you're busy, but so probably was the person who sent you the gift.
Yeah, because they're taking their time and going out and thinking of you and taking the time to go to the store and buy you something special. Yeah, there should be a thank you card.
Even if they say don't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's just...
They're kind of letting you off the hook, but
mm-hmm.
you should still do it anyway.
Yeah, even if it takes a while. And, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's when somebody goes out of their way. And I know... I always try to do it. I know I slip up sometimes, but most of the time I do. But so I think that's why I expect it when I... and I'm thinking... I've gone to several... Even weddings... in the same family. I went to 2 weddings within the same family, and one of the brides sent me a thank you note and the other one didn't. And I thought, they had the same parents.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
that happens.
So what about in business? Tell me something. What is a business faux pas that most people make?
Okay. I think the most faux pas happen at networking events. A lot of people go hungry. The rule number 1, don't go to a networking event hungry. You're there to work. Networking is work. So you don't want to rush and make a beeline for the buffet. First of all, you have food in your mouth. Your hands will be full. So don't rush. You're not there to eat. So I think that's the biggest faux pas. A lot of people are hungry, and they go, and then they drink, and then they might drink too much.
Yeah, that doesn't facilitate
networking. It's not a social affair. It is work.
No, that's good to think about. Even if there's a buffet, it's that you're there, and you've paid $30 or $40, $50 for that. You're still, that's the point, is that work, and I like that thought. And are there special ways that you suggest, but you know what? Yep, I was just looking to think that we may need to take a break, and we will. But before we go, let me ask you this question. Are there some good ways to say thank you to your customers?
You can do it in person, or you could send them a gift or send a card, thank you for your time, or a thank you email.
So if you send them a gift, what are some good gifts that you might? Do you have any suggestions for that are not over the top? You don't want to be too crazy with a gift, or is there a range?
Again, I like the homemade baked goods. You could send something to their office, perhaps. Everybody is happy at the office if they're sent food. So, yeah, maybe a bakery basket of some sort would be good.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've seen that in big companies where they send a Longo Baker basket or something like that. But that thing I saw last night was just the small. It was like a one-off. There were like 8, however many things, but they were all different things, and she just got them and put them in a nice basket. She put them in plastic bags, tied the bags, and then put them in a big basket. It was very clever.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You could share it with all your coworkers, and everybody will be happy that there's snacks there, and that's a good thank you.
Yeah. Jackie, we need to take a break, so if everybody stays close, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to the Friday Happy Hour.
Are you one of those women who lived the first part of your life as a really good girl? That is, you did all the right things and followed all the so-called rules for women? I was like that too. But have you noticed that once you passed 40, you have less patience for those rules? Maybe you even think that the rules really don't make sense for you anymore. Maybe they never did and you just didn't realize it. Do you want to go where other recovering good girls meet to inspire each other and support their new empowered selves? Then join me, Annmarie Kelly, and some very fabulous Victorious Women. We're on Facebook at the Victorious Woman Project. So go to facebook.com/Victorious Woman Project. I'll talk to you there.
Welcome back to the Friday Happy Hour, and we're with etiquette expert Jacquelyn Youst. And Jacquelyn, we're talking about business things. And here's a question that I have for you that I'm a person who often has lipstick on my teeth, and I try and remember to take it off. But I really appreciate it when somebody says lipstick, and I can rub it off. But how do you deal with that? Like, what are some polite ways if somebody has food stuck in their teeth or something hanging out of their nose or sleepers in their eyes? Like, what's a good way, a polite way of telling them that? Because you don't want them to, like, everybody to be seeing that. If you've seen it, everybody else is seeing it. You don't want them to be embarrassed. But at the same time, it's embarrassing to say something to them.
Okay, well, the key here is you want to be discreet. You might wait a few moments to see if that person catches it themselves. And then you want to quietly draw attention to the problem. Try communicating it nonverbally by catching their eye. And if that doesn't work, a whispered brief message will do the trick. But you definitely want to do that discreetly and quietly. And then you want to get the attention off that person so they can take care of whatever the issue is and, like, change the conversation and take the focus away from that person. So you definitely want to be discreet.
Mm-hmm. I know with my spouse, if he has something, one of us has something, hanging out our mouth or something, like we will do that. But if you don't know the person and if you're in a business situation, I think it makes it more difficult.
trying to get the message across non-verbally by, like, maybe touching your cheek or your lips so that they get the idea.
Mm-hmm. So if you
usually works.
But now, if you're in a business situation and it's hard to find, like, you're 3 or 4 people in the group, how do you lean over and whisper to them? And what do you say?
Well,
and what if it's your boss?
You could just if the conversation's going on and there are other people at the table, wait for a pause and then maybe just lean over and say, you have something in your teeth? Just whisper it and just be discreet, but don't make a big deal out of it because you don't want to embarrass them because they're going to already be embarrassed. But you definitely want to say something quietly and be discreet.
It's mean to let somebody have something like that, whether it's lipstick on their teeth or, food between their teeth.
If you don't say anything.
Yeah. Then they're ticked off, and then when they notice it, they're like, and nobody told me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you can try some nonverbal clue, like touch your finger on your tooth or something, and just discreetly give them a hint, they'll get the picture.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about with you, Jackie, is a lot of my listeners take trips with their friends or with their communities. We have a lot of listeners from Hershey's Mill, which is a retirement community. It's not necessarily a retirement community. I think it's an over 55 community that's near the station. Let's talk a little bit about travel. Okay. We hear a lot about weird things that happen on airplanes. What are some of the common etiquette failures on planes?
The armrest battle. Who gets the armrest?
Oh, that's a good one.
And that's simple. The person near the window gets the armrest near the window. The person on the aisle gets the aisle armrest. And the person in the center, they get both.
Seriously, huh?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I guess that's the payoff for being stuck in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, what else? I've heard, like people taking off their shoes and things like that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. And you don't want to carry on strong-smelling food. Okay, you don't want to take tuna or hard-boiled eggs with you. That's just offensive to everybody around you. So you want to pack peanuts or crackers. You want to be a courteous traveler.
Interesting. No hoagies, huh?
Well, if you're not going to have onions on it, maybe you can get away with it. And to recline the seat or not to recline the seat. That's so you just don't want to push it back without looking. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure the person behind you isn't eating or using their laptop or isn't 6'9". It's about being kind. You could turn around and ask if it's all right to put the seat back a little. And if they say no, don't be offended. But just don't pull it back because they could be eating.
So what do you do if you know the rules and they don't?
Well, the secret of knowing the rules is knowing when it's okay to break them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what are some good things that we could know about traveling with other people? Like if we're going on on a cruise with a bunch of friends, or that Rhodes Scholar thing or something. What are some good things to know so that you return home still being good friends with those couples?
Well, expect long lines and delays. If you expect it, it won't make you angry. So preparation is key. Expect the long lines, expect the delays, expect crabby behavior. Be patient. Be ready to wait. Be nice to the person next to you. I think if you anticipate problems, you're prepared for them, and then they won't catch you off guard and irritate you so much. Mm-hmm. And that'll keep your spirits high and you in a better mood. So, yeah, just expect inconveniences.
Now, what about with your friends? If you're if you're on a cruise, things are all paid in advance. But what if you're off the ship and you're doing something together? Like, are there rules about who pays, or Is it good to split everything 50-50? How does that? Are there any rules about that?
Well, you could discuss that amongst your friends prior to getting off the boat and sitting down to eat, and then everybody's looking confused, because you could make for some awkward situations that way. But I would expect if you get off the cruise ship and you go to dinner, that everybody would pay for themselves. Why would one person have to pick up the tab for everybody traveling together? Mm-hmm. Unless you all want to take turns doing that. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make sense that that's even an issue. You should pay for your family, because you could be traveling with 2 or 3 people as opposed to somebody who's traveling alone.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Mm-hmm. Okay, Jackie, we finally got to spring. And it's Memorial Day, and it'll be before Memorial Day before we know it. So what's hot about summer etiquette?
Are you asking me about wearing white, or just? Yeah,
is that wearing white before Memorial Day and after, not wearing white before Memorial Day and after Labor Day? Is that still true?
Well, that actually started in the 30s with the ultra-rich wearing white in the summer, because white gave the look of leisure, and dark clothing was mostly for working people. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to go overboard if you're going to wear white in the beginning of spring. If you do wear white, you want to pair it with one of the season's hotter colors, like a magenta or whatever this color is for the season. Mm-hmm. It's ultimately your choice. However, you never, ever want to wear a white dress or a white outfit to a wedding unless you're the bride.
Oh, good. I've heard arguments about that, so I understand that.
People still get confused on that one. Can I wear a white dress, or can I wear black to a wedding? You can, but you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. We're just about out of time, Jackie. We have we have enough time for you to tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, they can reach me at JacquelynYoust.com, or they can send their etiquette questions to Jacquelyn at pdt.net.
Say the PDT, like?
PTD.
PTD.
Consolidated, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Jacquelyn, thank you for coming on to Happy Hour with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed my time with you, Annmarie.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Victory Chicks and you guys, what you got planned for that? That was interesting. I learned a couple of things today, and I'm really happy about learning them. And what you got planned for the weekend? I'm leaving right after the show and going to King of Prussia, where my friend Teresa Hummel-Kralinger, she's the one doing the comedy at the Girlfriend Gala, is emceeing something for the United Way called Superheroes Unite. And it's at the casino, so her spouse didn't want to go with her, so she invited me. But here's something that's funny. When she first asked me, I told her I'd have to run it by Joseph, since we usually do something together on Friday nights. And I've mostly been out all week, every night this week. So I emailed him at work, and this is what was so funny. I felt like I was asking permission. And of course I wasn't, and neither Joseph nor I thought I was. But somehow in my psyche it felt like it. So, and he said, yeah, sure, go, it's fine. So when I connected with Teresa, I said, I can go. My dad said it was okay. And she sent Joseph an email that read, thanks, Dad. We all had a giggle over it. It was funny. But I don't know if that ever happens to you, where I'm so not used to asking any permissions, but there's a courtesy and respect that I give to Joseph. And so I wanted to, it was just funny. It was just an odd thing for me. And tomorrow, I hope to get my plans in, because on Sunday there's a reunion of the Karachi family. And the Karachis are my cousins on my mother's side. And people are flying in from all over the country. And I'm kind of amazed, first of all, at how many of them live other places. But I'm mostly amazed by how many people are flying in just for the reunion. And there's one particular person, Aunt Grace, who had a big impact on me, and in an interesting way that I won't be able to tell you about today, but maybe I'll share it with you next week. And Grace is in her 80s, living in California, and her son is flying out with her. And in fact, I think he's the one who instigated the reunion, thinking this might be the last time his mom will be traveling out this way. So I'm looking forward to a fun afternoon on Sunday in Glen Mills. So, okay, Victory Chicks and you guys, that's all I got for you today. And I'm hoping that I'll have, you can probably tell I have allergy voice today, so I'm hoping that'll go away by next week. But I do have one more thing. It's a cool quote about reunions, actually about the memories reunions bring up. And I don't even know who said it, but here it is. Memories are the treasures that we keep locked deep within the storehouse of our souls to keep our hearts warm when we are lonely. I hope you have some good memories to warm your heart this weekend. And I hope you come back with me to the Friday Happy Hour next week. And until then, thanks so much for coming to Happy Hour today. Have fun and have a victorious weekend. And I'll talk with you next Friday. Chenzan.
Thanks for listening to this Friday Happy Hour. Make sure you subscribe, rate and review today's show. And join us again next week for the Friday Happy Hour with Annmarie Kelly. 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 The Friday Happy Hour with Annmarie Kelly.